Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Janavallabha, Jaya Girivardhara, Jaya Girivardhara, Jaya Yasoda Nandana, Jaya Vijayanaranjan, Jaya Yasoda Nandana, Jaya Vijayanaranjan, Shambhunathiraranjan, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Shambhunathiraranjan, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai, Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Jai Shil Prabhupada ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming on this Saturday morning. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, which is called The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. Such a wonderful, wonderful chapter. So text number 37. Swanigamam apahaya mat pratigyam. Ridham adikartum avapluto ratashta. Dhritarata charano vyayach chaladgur arir eva hantum ibam gato tariya. Really interesting meter. It's all these short syllables. Swanigamamapa, all short syllables. Haya mat pratigyam. It must be a very poetic meter. Wish I could chant it properly. Anyway. So word meanings, swanigamam, his own truthfulness. This is Bhishma speaking. Krishna's, we'll set the scene. Krishna's come before him. Bhishma's lying on a bed of arrows. He's got the benediction that he can leave his body whenever he wants, at any time. So all the great personalities, it's like a who's who in the universe, have all come to see Bhishma and just acknowledge his greatness as a devotee. And even Krishna's there. Especially Krishna's there. And so Krishna's right in front of him. So he's in the presence. He's just waiting for the proper time. And we read in previous verses how Bhishma said, he was speaking, various instructions. And then it says, and that man who spoke on thousands of topics and so on, he quit speaking. And he just turned all of his attention to Krishna, just completely focused on Krishna. And he's speaking these wonderful prayers. So Bhishma is speaking, and he says, Swanigamam, and he's addressing Krishna, that his own truthfulness, Swanigamam, own truthfulness, apahaya, for nullifying. Krishna nullified his own truthfulness. Mat pratigyam, my promise, ritam, making factual or fulfilling. Because someone may promise something, but when it happens, it's fulfilled. When someone promises, you don't know until they actually do it. It's just a promise. But Krishna made Bhishma's promise factual by this act. And what did he do? Adit Kartam, he's doing this. Avapluta, he's getting down, ratasta, from the chariots. Drita, taking up, rata charana, the chariot wheel. Avyayat, and he went hurriedly, ran towards me, Bhishma is saying. He ran towards me. Chaladgu, trampling the earth. And just picture Krishna carrying this chariot wheel, running towards Bhishma, trampling the earth, and he's angry. Hari Eva Hantum, he's like a lion, Hantum, running to kill Ibham, an elephant. What a sight. And Gata Uttariya, he didn't even notice that, his cloth, his outer covering, had fallen off. He was just so angry, he was running. So this is Bhishma's vision. The translation, fulfilling my vow and sacrificing my promise. I'm sacrificing his own promise. He got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. That's Srila Prabhupada's purport. So we have this, imagine Bhishma's ready to leave his body, Krishna's there in front of him, and this memory, this amazing memory is before his eyes. This is what's filling his mind, is this memory of Krishna in this way, coming running towards him with the chariot wheel to kill him. and Bhishma is just relishing that. And this is his relationship with Krishna. Hard to imagine, but there's so many different ways to love Krishna. So, fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Battle of Kurukshetra was fought on military principles, but at the same time in a sporting spirit, like a friend's fight with another friend. Yeah, Bhishma's like that. He's not, Krishna's coming to kill me. He's like, Jai. he's just relishing this. I was thinking this, people are so into sports. Actually, the origin of sports is actually military. This whole martial spirit is, now people, anyway, they pour that same spirit into sporting. Duryodhana criticized Bhishma Dev, alleging that he was reluctant to kill Arjuna because of paternal affection. A Kshatriya cannot tolerate insults on the principle of fighting, but he couldn't tolerate this. Bhishma Dev therefore promised that the next day he would kill all 5 Pandavas with special weapons made for the purpose. Duryodhana was satisfied and he kept the arrows with him to deliver the next day during the fight. So actually, I hope I remember the story correctly, but Duryodhana was thinking that something might happen to these 5 arrows, so let me keep them safely. And Arjuna, I think, as I recall, he had saved Duryodhana's life once during some kind of military venture or something. And Duryodhana had promised him a boon, and Arjuna had said, well, I'll take that up in the future. I don't need a boon right now, but I'll just wait and collect it at the appropriate time. So Krishna told Arjuna that, okay, go collect your boon. And so he went to see Duryodhana at the night. Even though they're enemies, they would meet together after the fighting finished for the day, and they would talk and share meals and speak, and there was no fear that they would be attacked. This was kind of inconceivable to us these days, but this was the nature of this fighting. These were real Kshatriyas, not Sudras that are just drafted, but real Kshatriyas. So Arjuna came and said, okay, Duryodhana, I want that boon you promised me. Remember this boon? So Duryodhana said, yes, I'll give you whatever you want. You want the battle to finish? You want the whole kingdom? Whatever you want, I'll give you. And Arjuna said, I want those 5 arrows you're keeping. So it says here, by tricks, Arjuna took the arrows from Duryodhana, and Bhishma could understand that this was the trick of Lord Krishna. Only Krishna could have known what had transpired, and he informed Arjuna. So he took a vow that the next day Krishna would have to take up weapons himself, otherwise his friend Arjuna would die. So this was his promise. Now we know Bhishma was famous for his promise more than anyone else, right? As a young, strong, virile warrior, he took a vow of celibacy, and he was known as Devavrata. But when the demigods saw that he had taken this vow, that he would never marry, he would never beget children, they were so flabbergasted that he had done this, that the sound came from the sky, Bhishma. They're awesome, or, fearful, his fearful vow. So when Bhishma took a vow to do something, it would have to happen. So this was his vow, that he would that either Arjuna would die or Krishna would have to fight. This is his vow. So in the next day's fighting, Bhishma Dev fought so violently that both Arjuna and Krishna were in trouble. Arjuna was almost defeated. The situation was so tense that he was about to be killed by Bhishma Dev the very next moment. As I understand that Bhishma Dev was like 90 years old at this time or something. And Arjuna was still a young man. So he's so powerful. Even he's very, very elderly, but he could fight like this. This was Bhishma. Maharati, they called him, someone who could fight with, 10,000 charioteers, or anyways, thousands of men at one time. This one person, Maharati, could fight with. That time, Lord Krishna wanted to please his devotee, Bhishma, by keeping Bhishma's promise, which is more important than his own promise. Wow. Seemingly, he broke his own promise. He promised before the beginning of the Battle of Kurukshetra that he would remain without weapons and would not use his strength for either of the parties. But to protect Arjuna, he got down from the chariot, took up the wheel of the chariot, and hurriedly rushed at Bhishma Dev in an angry mood, as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He dropped his covering cloth on the way, and out of great anger, he did not know that he had dropped it. Bhishma Dev at once gave up his weapons and stood to be killed by Krishna, his beloved Lord. The fighting of the day was thus ended at that very moment, and Arjuna was saved. So this is Bhishma's, where in the previous verses you've read, I'm sure you know more about Bhishma Dev than I do, having studied it these past weeks. But anyway, yeah, in previous verses it's mentioned that Bhishma was striking Arjuna. He was shooting at Arjuna and Krishna. And his arrows would sometimes pierce Krishna's body. Of course, Krishna cannot be pierced, but he manifests this, and this was enjoyed by Krishna. So they had this chivalrous relationship, this fighting spirit, and this way, and also Bhishma's, seeing Krishna with Arjuna, seeing Krishna save Arjuna, instruct Arjuna. So it's described that Bhishma's Ishtadev is Parthasarathi, this Arjuna and Krishna. He just, more than wanting a relationship with Krishna himself, he liked to see Krishna in this relationship, and he liked to be part of it. The question always comes, and when we get Bhagavad Gita classes, that Bhishma was a great devotee. How could he, fight against Krishna? Well, we see the answer here. First of all, he's like, he knows Krishna can't be defeated. I can fight against him, or it doesn't matter. Krishna may not fight, but Arjuna's not going to lose. Arjuna can't lose. There's no possibility. So he took up this position, and this was his rasa, his chivalrous ras with Krishna, fight with him in this way and, see. And Krishna experienced, Vishwanath Chakravarti explained in the previous verses that this is, like the kisses of a lover, hard to conceive, the Bhishma's arrow. So amazing this relationship, and how Bhishma, this warrior, on one hand, but he's so soft-hearted, and his heart is just full of these visions of Krishna and his love, and these adventures, and how he saw Krishna. It's so wonderful. We're reminded also that what's it, Sudama, Sridham, Radharani's brother, was also in a mood, kind of a chivalrous Ras. But of course, they're friends. They're very deep friends. They have a also amazing relationship. But they had a bit of a chivalrous Ras between them, and they would often fight. And often Sridham would be the winner. he would beat Krishna, and what kind of big man are you? I can defeat you. So this is their relationship. And Krishna, the supreme controller, the Ishvara, whom fear personified fears, he would be defeated by Sridham. And it's the Acharyas actually state that when when Krishna went to Mathura, first of all, he killed Chanura and Mustika in the wrestling arena, these two ferocious warriors. Then he killed Kamsa. He actually jumped up off the dais and, into Kamsa's box, and he, killed Krishna, or killed Kamsa, and dragged him, and Sridham was this that's not, Krishna can't do this, so we fight every day, and I always beat him. I don't think this is really Krishna. So they say that right there in the arena, that Sridham challenged Krishna to a fight, and he defeated him. So anyway, these are some instances of the different ways to love Krishna. Krishna is not a boring personality, and his friends are not boring, and the relationships with him are just cover every spectrum of what we can imagine in terms of personal interaction, and it's just so beautiful. So the chivalrous Ras. Then Srila Prabhupada concludes, of course, there was no possibility of Arjuna's death because Lord himself was on the chariot. But because Bhishma Dev wanted to see Lord Krishna take up some weapon to save his friend, the Lord created this situation, making Arjuna's death appear imminent. It only appeared imminent. He stood before Bhishma Dev to show him that his promise was fulfilled and that he had taken up the wheel. So Krishna created this situation, and that he had to save Arjuna. Krishna likes to do that too. He likes to save his devotees sometimes. He saves us. He saved us so many times. And Krishna also likes to save his devotees. So he created, whatever Krishna does, there's so many things that are accomplished by that one activity. So he's saving Arjuna. Apparently he's breaking his promise to show that it's more important for me to save my devotee. I don't care about my promise. The real thing is for me to save my devotee. But even deeper than that was that he wanted to keep Bhishma's promise, because Bhishma, his great devotee, had promised, I will do this. And it's amazing that Krishna has to change the course of his activities he has to, the words of the devotee are very, very powerful. And how will the devotee keep his word? How can anyone keep their word? Only if Krishna allows, only if Krishna arranges. So he's standing before Bhishma. Bhishma's just dropped his weapons. He's seen Krishna's coming. He's just dropped his weapons. And he's seeing how wonderful Krishna's, how beautiful he is. But at the same time, he's understanding this swanigamam apahaya mat pratigyam. He has given up his own truthfulness to fulfill my promise. Krishna's so wonderful. So anyway, we can get just a glimpse into the wonderful variegatedness of the lives and the love and the sweetness that the devotees, a devotee like Bhishma Dev had with Krishna. And he experienced this wonderful relationship. And also we can understand that the words of a devotee are very powerful. Krishna had to act on the words of his devotee, and this is a very, very significant lesson for us. Srila Prabhupada often quotes a verse from Bhagavad Gita, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma, shashvat chantim nagacchati, kanteya pratijanihi, name bhakta pranashyati. So Srila Prabhupada often says that Krishna's not saying here, I promise that my devotee will never perish. But he's saying, Arjuna, you declare it, that my devotee never perishes, because Krishna may break his promise. He sometimes does break his promise. Sometimes he even tells lies. And, when he had eaten dirt in today, this is month of Kartik, so he said, no, I didn't eat dirt. I didn't do any. I didn't eat. Actually, Krishna tells so many lies. I didn't. He steals, So, I didn't eat dirt, but the cowherd boys are saying, well, they're just conspiring against me. Well, but even Balaram, even he says that you've eaten dirt. No, they're lying, mithya. They're all speaking untruths. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you declare it boldly that my devotee will never perish, because the devotee's word will come true. So the words of a devotee are very, very effective, and especially it's described that this month of Damodar, we're singing this Damodar Astakam each day, and Damodar Lila, that this Damodar Lila illustrates this point also. The Damodar Lila illustrates three things: the glory of the Bhakta, Yashoda Devi in particular, that how wonderful is her love and her determination, her service. Yeah, so much, the glories of a devotee, and the glories of bhakti, the power of bhakti badham, that Krishna becomes bound by bhakti. There's a wonderful verse spoken by Krishna himself. When Krishna was getting ready to leave this world, he kind of his last will and testament, you could say, was that he was speaking to Uddhava. He wanted Uddhava to go to Bhadrak Ashram, and because there's so many sages and saintly persons there that are performing austerities, and they didn't partake directly in Krishna's pastimes, and he wanted to instruct them. So this is kind of Krishna's final words, this Uddhava Gita, his last will and testament, you can say. So to them and to all of us, to the world, he said, Nasari iti mam yogo nasankyam dharma uddhava nas swadhyayas tapaschyago yata bhaktir mamorjita. So he uses this word several times here, sadhyati, that brings under control. And he's speaking that can bring me under control. And so he says that, my dear Uddhava, the unalloyed devotional service rendered to me by my devotees brings me under their control. I cannot be thus controlled by those engaged in mystic yoga, Sankhya philosophy, pious work, Vedic study, austerity, or renunciation. So Krishna's actually saying, Krishna personally speaking, that I become controlled by bhakti. This Sankhya, these processes, you're on your own. You work, proceed at your own risk, by your own power, by our own power, we'll succeed in spiritual life. What a foolish notion that we can succeed at anything by our own power. But on the path of bhakti, Krishna actually takes an interest in the devotee, and Krishna helps the devotee advance on the path. And ultimately, Krishna becomes bound by the devotee's love. Like, for instance, in Yashoda Devi, it's described there, Drustva Parishramam Krishna. Krishna was watching this hard labor. He could see that Parishrama, that this Yashoda's working so hard to bind Krishna. 12 hours. 12 hours. He's bringing so many, 12 hours, you can imagine that. She's trying to bind Krishna with ropes, and she's not successful. One thing to work hard, and then at the end, well, I was successful, but to work hard and be unsuccessful can be pretty discouraging. So this Mother Yashoda, so Krishna's seeing this, that she didn't give up, and he's showing us that, hey, it may not be so easy, Krishna consciousness. It's not like just Haribol and eat all of it. You may have to put out. And Krishna sees our effort. He sees how we're going on year after year, trying to serve him, trying to advance, trying to chant, trying to share Krishna consciousness, and sees that all of our activities, and in spite of, as he says in Bhagavad Gita, in spite of helplessness and defeat, one goes on. And Krishna sees this activity of the devotee. And then Kripiya Sit Swabandhane. It's very interesting. Bhagavatam says that out of his mercy, he bound himself, Swabandhane. It doesn't say that out of his mercy, Yashoda bound him, but he himself was bound. In other words, he has to agree. So as the acharyas always explain, we've heard this, that the two fingers are the devotee's endeavor and Krishna's mercy. Otherwise, Krishna can't be bound. He wants to be bound. Krishna speaking this verse to Uddhava because he wants to be bound out of the love of his devotee. He gives this devotee the opportunity or the ability to love him unlimitedly. That's in our power. It may seem unbelievable, but it is. For at least for our little capability, unlimitedly. And Krishna becomes bound by that love, and he wants to become bound, but it's always, he's agreeing. He wants to come under the control, just like he wanted to come under the control Mother Yashoda. So this power of bhakti is so amazing, and we can see this here in Bhishma Dev too, that their relationship is a little different than Mother Yashoda and Krishna, to say the least. But he's bound by the love of Bhishma. He says, "Oh, Bhishma wants to defeat me and make me take up a weapon. Okay," and so he arranged. He allowed this to happen. And this is his pleasure. This is his happiness. And Bhishma's seeing all this. Bhishma's just seeing how Krishna's taking pleasure in fulfilling his words, fulfilling Bhishma's words. And so the power, this is the power of bhakti, and this leads to the third item that this Leela shows, is that the power of a devotee's words, that a devotee's words, devotee's ichcha, devotee's desire, can change the course of history, practically speaking, for the jiva soul, or for others. It's the Lord's desire. I was remembering this verse in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna's, he's speaking that, we shouldn't, he's speaking to Arjuna. He says, we don't refrain from work, but engage in work in the spirit of devotion. And he's in the buddhi bedam janaya. You shouldn't disturb the minds of the less intelligent and encourage them to refrain from activity. They should remain. They should do their activity, but in an act of devotion. And then in the next verse, he says, bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them. So Krishna, in Bhagavad Gita, he's practically telling his devotees, don't bother. Everyone's in Maya. They're all, think they're the doer, right? Prakriti, Kriyamanani, Gunai, Karmani, Sarvasha. They're all thinking, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I want this, I want this. Everyone's bewildered by material nature. They've forgotten who they are. They've forgotten their relationship with Krishna. They've forgotten their spirit soul. He says, but don't disturb them. Krishna's saying that's pretty amazing. So Prabhupada, even more amazingly, in the purport, he says, but the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. So they take the trouble, even risking their lives sometimes, to approach conditioned souls. Srila Prabhupada says this. And of course, there's many instances in history how devotees have risked their lives just to share Krishna consciousness. So, and because they understand the desire of the Lord, Krishna doesn't interfere with our free will. That's his position. That's the position he takes. Is that at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Yatechasi Tathakuru, I've explained everything. Now it's up to you. You have the ichcha. You have the desire. You can accept my instructions, or you can act in some other way. And he's telling Arjuna this, and this is the position of the Lord. He's trying to give us good advice. He wants us to come back to him, and he's trying to help us, but he doesn't interfere. If we want to go on in our ignorant ways, then he gives us intelligence how to do that. And if we want to come to him, then he will give us intelligence how to come to him. Tesham sarata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dami buddhi yogam tam yena mama payanti te. So the Lord is infinitely kind, but he doesn't interfere with the free will. That comes through the desire of the devotee, the words spoken by the devotee, the desire of the devotee is the conduit by which Krishna enters our life. That some devotee, just like Srila Prabhupada, prayed for us. If you read that, it's amazing when you think about this, that Srila Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta and he was just looking at all of, he's just looking out, these people are all covered by passion and ignorance, and they think they're happy. They're no problem, They think they're happy. They aren't interested. How will I speak to them? How will I deliver them? And then he said, but Krishna, after all, they've come under the illusory potency by your will, and by your will, they can be delivered. And then he prayed, and I wish that you may deliver them. So this is Prabhupada's wish for us. It's his will. This is his speech. Krishna, I wish that you would deliver them. This is called affective speech. It's like we may describe something, oh, it's a beautiful day, or something. That's also speech. But when just like in the court of law, if the judge says, I sentence this person to such and such, so that's called affective speech. That something's going to happen. There will be a result. Somebody's life will be changed drastically by that proclamation. So Srila Prabhupada's prayer on the Jaladuta is a profound example of effective speech. And of course, he was always praying for us. And we're able to take up Krishna consciousness because of his prayer. And because of his prayer, then Krishna has to act. Krishna changed, the course of our history, the course of our lives was changed because through Prabhupada's desire, Krishna entered. The words spoken by the devotee are the pathway, the conduit by which Krishna can fulfill his own desire to deliver the conditioned souls. This is the mystery. So this month also, Kartika, this Damodar Leela also demonstrates that Narada Muni, remember, he had 20,000 years before, something like that, thousands of years before, he had met Nalakuvera and Manigriva, and they were very degraded demigods, right? They didn't have any devotional qualification. I don't think they were chanting their rounds and so on. Anyway, we know what their situation was. We've heard this story. And Narada apparently cursed them to stand as trees, but then he said, but you will see Krishna. You will be delivered by Krishna. So although it took a long time, 20,000 years they stood as trees, but these words of Narada acted. They couldn't go in vain. And Krishna had to remember. He remembered the words of Narada, right? He's crawling along. He'd been bound by Mother Yashoda to the grinding mortar. And then he remembered the words of, oh, Narada said these persons here should be delivered. So, okay, now's the time. I will do this. So these demigods just consider their case. If they would have just remained enjoying life, they got cursed, they stood as trees, but consider the alternative. They're simply enjoying life as demigods, and so much enjoyment was there for them. But eventually they're, chine punye martilokam vishanti. Eventually their pious activity runs out. They come back down, they fall back down, they have to go through so much suffering through so many species, perhaps billions of births, maybe to rise up to become a demigod, to again become degraded and do it again. It's like this Gatagatam Kama Kama Alabanti. There's just this cycle of going up and down and trying to enjoy the mature world. But Narada interfered in their life, and by his powerful words, they saw Krishna. They became liberated. So this is the bhakti icha, the power of the devotee's words, and we see that here in this, that how much out of love, out of his great love, Krishna wanted to fulfill the words of Bhishma Dev, how he wanted to enact this pastime to, so that Bhishma Dev could see him like this, and that he could have this experience. So many lessons are in this pastime. Yeah. So Hare Krishna. Where are we? I have to find the screen again. I was looking at mine. Oops. Trying to get back. Where are we? Oh, there we are. You're all there. Okay. Sorry. So, Hare Krishna. That was kind of what I wanted to share about this verse. Any thoughts or questions from anyone? Nope.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for such a wonderful class, actually. So I have this question. This has been like my very much struggle. When I hear about Krishna and his quality and his Bhakta Vatsalya, especially, it sounds really attractive, but my mind, I have this thought that I find this idea so abstract that I am to make a relationship with somebody whom I've never seen, I've never heard, I haven't experienced. So, this struggle goes back and forth. When I hear it, I get it. But then on the flip side, it's a personal struggle so if you can shed some light on how to overcome this struggle of my mind and be steady in wanting to make my relationship with Krishna.
Well, thank you for your extreme honesty and sincerity and sharing that question. It's probably something all of us struggle with, I would imagine. At least I do, and I think anyone that's on the spiritual path. I know my experiences. I remember one devotee said, he came to me one time, he said, Krishna's up there in the spiritual world and he's just enjoying with his devotees and he doesn't care about me, he can't care about me. So, of course, this isn't a mature way to think, but like you said, it's the struggle of the mind, that we think that we may feel like that. It's our own isolation. Really, what that's coming from is our own isolation, because we've forgotten Krishna. We've somehow or other we've lost this most vital relationship, and so really the doubt is in ourself. It's not what will I do. So in your question, though, part of your question was, I think it's the answer to this question, because after all, this is coming in the mind. These are all mental things, because Krishna does love us. He's repeating that again and again. He wants us to know he loves us. we're his part and parcel. We're coming from him as spiritual beings. We're always in contact with him, and we've lost that relationship, but he's never left us. He's, he never forgot us for a second. He's with us every second. He we went into the body of an amoeba or an ant or a pig or whatever. He didn't bat an eye. He just kept going with us through all those different species of life. This is the nature of Krishna's love. So we need to, when our mind is saying stuff like this, we need to just say, well, thank you for sharing your opinion, my dear mind. I'm glad to hear what you're thinking. But, Krishna has a different opinion. So let's hear that. And really I think that ultimately the answer is what you said is when you hear it, you're there, right? When we're hearing about Krishna, we're connected with Krishna. So and then when we're not hearing, then the mind is there. And of course, we're surrounded by material energy. So naturally, these kinds of thoughts come in because they're the nature of the material covering. It's just the nature of the material covering to have those kinds of feelings of isolation. We all feel isolated. That's the meaning of being in the material world. And our only solace, our only solution really is to hear or be engaged in service or somehow or other through service, but especially I would say through hearing and chanting to connect ourselves with Krishna. And then we feel that relationship. Like you said, it's sometimes we know it's there. We wouldn't still be practicing if we didn't have any experience, right? Years and years. Maybe in the past, people could perform austerities, for thousands of years with no response. And then finally at the end, Krishna, ta-da, but in Kali Yuga, we can't do that. We need this constant, it's okay, Bhakta, so keep going, just keep chanting. We need this reassurance, and Krishna does give it to us, especially through the association of devotees and through this hearing, through the hearing we're connected, and at least some of the time we feel that connection, and we know that yes, I am a spiritual being. I'm not this body. Krishna's there. Krishna's taking care of me. Krishna never left me. So as much as possible, we need to be connected to the hearing and chanting, and then we'll. As Bhakti Siddhanta said, the more our lives center around Shravanam Kirtanam, or hearing Krishna Katha, then the more anarthas fall away effortlessly and automatically. So, we need to see how can I make my life, always be in touch with this hearing and chanting. Then I can't say it won't be a problem. It probably will be a problem for all of us for some time, but it won't be, we can stay above the mire a little bit and stay connected. Yeah, thank you for your nice question. So, Hare Krishna. How long is this an hour class or? Oops.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So it's 9 o'clock, my time, 8 o'clock your time. So.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. If you have a few more minutes.
I can take a few minutes, yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's very sweet and very wonderful when you were mentioning Krishna is not a boring personality. So many different ways to love him and relate with him. That's really very sweet and touching. And this other point you mentioned about Srila Prabhupada's prayers, it's very profound. We are able to be sustained and, in a sense, alive in devotion only because of devotees' prayers. That was very heart-touching, Prabhu. On that point, while I understand someone is praying for me, someone is doing this for me, in my little way, how can we extend that to others? Oftentimes, I kind of find it a block. I'm not qualified. I'm not there, so that's okay. So I feel that's kind of stopping me from extending whatever I'm receiving. So though we don't have much qualification, yet at the same time, how do we extend within our capacity?
That's also a wonderful question. One time, Srila Prabhupada, probably more than once, but once that I know of, he asked one of his disciples to pray for him. Pretty amazing, huh? Said, would pray for me. And of course, the disciples' response was, how can I pray for you? Srila Prabhupada, we're here by your prayers, you know, by your mercy, we're here. How can I pray for you? But Prabhupada said, no, the prayers of a devotee are very, very powerful. So you could say that it's our duty to pray for others. And I heard this recently. I thought this was really wonderful that Bhakti Maharaj said that when the devotee prays for someone else's welfare in Krishna consciousness, please let this person become a devotee, or please help them advance, or somehow or other we're praying for praying for others to become Krishna conscious or to get Krishna's mercy, or and Bhakti Maharaj pointed out that the first recipient of that mercy is the one who's praying. So, and it's true. I mean, Krishna, out of billions of living entities that are thinking, me, what about me? It's like Krishna, we feel that way. We've got one child or two children or something, and the kids are, what about me? I want this, I need, children, that they're like personification of the mental platform. Me, I want, it's like, I'm Krishna, I'm the center of the universe, So, I think sometimes Krishna gives us children just so we can see what Krishna feels like to have, having all these living entities, screaming, I want, I'm not satisfied. I've got it all, but I'm still not satisfied. It's not enough, So out of all these countless living entities, one living entity thinks, let me become a devotee, and starts to pray, Krishna, can you please deliver these conditioned souls? Can you help me to pray? Like Prabhupada prayed, give me the words to speak to this person. A lot of times, in class of devotees say, well, how can I do this, or how can I do that? And there's really no formula. The only formula is we just can pray, because every situation is different. We can never know how to talk to this person or how to talk to that person. Sometimes the best thing to say is not to say anything, It's like, what do you do? But we can always pray, and we should always pray that, how Krishna, please let me be your instrument. Let me somehow or other serve you. So that's a very nice point. We should, as devotees, cultivate that mood of praying for others. And then that's wonderful, because already we're not worried about our little problems, That's a nice thing. This mood of, I just heard Sri Prahlad, he said something, this mood of service, of wanting to help others and praying for others, is this magnanimous mood is a mood of abundance. Because when we're worried about ourselves, there's not enough, how will I get? But when we think about how can I help other people, how can I serve, then we feel Krishna's helping, Krishna's with me. It changes the whole frame of reference. It's Krishna's there, and Krishna's all opulent, So yeah, cultivate. We need to cultivate that mood of praying for others. And yeah, and as Srila Prabhupada demonstrated, we shouldn't think that our prayers go in vain or that they're meaningless, or that because we are insignificant, we're very tiny little, 1/10,000th of a hair, we're very small. We're not even as big as this body, we're really small. So, but still it's significant. And Krishna sees that, Krishna appreciates that endeavor, and he does reciprocate. He does. The words, that's the instruction of this Leela and of Srila Prabhupada, is the words, the prayers of a devotee don't go in vain. I know one second generation, he recently took initiation, and he said, I'm here by the prayers of my mother. And I became a devotee by the prayers of my mother. So, yeah, Krishna hears. Actually, we should always be praying as much as we can. We should, for everything, Krishna, please help me. Please let me be of service. Krishna, please help this. This is, in one sense, you can say it's a big part of our cultivating bhakti. Is to cultivate this mood of constant prayer, selfless, praying for others. Yeah. So thank you. It's a nice, very nice question. Nice meditation. So yeah, I guess everybody's running off to work now, or I know it's Saturday, right? Anyway, thank you for taking your valuable Saturday, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about Bhishma Dev. It's a wonderful meditation for me to hear, and thank you for your association. So Shatarupa, should we? Anyway, she's here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. For sure, we can go on hearing from you, but I think the time is kind of binding. But we would be very happy whenever you have some little gap in your schedule. Please do think of us. We'll be very happy again to have you. And thank you so much for accepting at the last minute invitation. And thanks a lot, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare